Welcome to the April 9th bhyve production user call. We have Andrew, Hans, Katya, Anthony, Jan, Hazem, Daniel, and Alexei so far, plus myself. And Hans would like to say, hey, please review his VirtIO reviews. They are out there. They're in the doc. Mark Johnson has taken a peek. He's updated accordingly. Please take a look. Before the recording, we had a quick discussion about Windows VM support, and Hazem is happy to report that there are some very important fixes in 15.0 stable that should be in 15.1, such that when it comes to Windows 11 VMs, I quote, don't bother with 14x. 15.0 stable is helpful insofar as, correct me if I'm wrong, Hazem, it allows you to run multiple vCPUs right out of the box, or do you have to like start with one during installation and then diversify?
If you have the patches in, which is in stable or probably in 15.1, they will
Okay.
definitely work
So
right out of the box with n number of eCPUs.
Yeah, exactly. Great. And that's a very tangible point. And your average user might not think to try one during installation and then change and then, and hopefully that doesn't confuse some licensing server, et cetera, et cetera. So cool. Thank you for tracking that. And anything regarding the guest agent, are there in 2026 any meaningful bhyve supported guest agent features, or is that still a pipe dream and the IX one never happened from FreeNAS and et cetera, et cetera?
I'm sorry, you got cut off there. What
So
was the question?
is there any meaningful bhyve guest agent functionality with, for example, the QEMU one or a VMware one or anything, or a Azure one? Or is
For
it,
Windows?
yeah, for Windows guest?
Oh yeah, Camo Guest Agent is definitely there. I think it's just that Windows kind of dropped support for the legacy VirtIO spec, which I
Okay.
think bhyve uses. That's what Roman told
Oh,
me when I asked
okay.
him about this. So I don't think it's the fault of the guest agent because the guest agent is, kind of incredibly well supported and Red Hat is probably working on that. So I think it has more to do with how Windows kind of recognizes the serial driver. So that's that.
You can do that with ISA serial ports. I have just done that for a customer who's running Windows on bhyve on OmniOS. But it needs a bit of configuration on the Windows side to get it to use that.
Indeed.
The other thing is Illumos has modern VirtIO in bhyve that should be ported to FreeBSD.
Is that modern or transitional or both?
Well, it's transitional, but transitional just means it supports both modern
Got
and legacy.
it. Okay. Yes, please.
So
Yes.
you said the problem seems to be on installation, but not on actually running it afterwards. Did I catch that right?
I don't
No,
believe so.
with the 15 release and below, I've had issues like regardless of what I do, even with one vCPU, it's really unstable because the way I think Windows sends CPU interrupts, and it's really not a good time, especially if you plan on running like Windows Server or something. I wouldn't
Okay.
recommend it because it just crashes out of nowhere, and crashing is not handled well by libvirt as well, which might not be a problem for many users, but it is a very big problem for us because we kind of rely on libvirt being our manager. So
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
I
what
just
if
wanted to
you,
get clarification on that. Thank you.
is that only with libvirt, or can you use the AHCI and E1000?
So I've tried it on pretty much every configuration under the sun to make it
Yeah.
work on 15 release and 14.x whatever, and it's just not a fun time because I really don't know where it is getting stuck. But when it does get stuck, I can see the Windows, at least the server logs, showing that okay, the system had like 90% completely filled with system interrupts.
Hmm.
So I kind of figured, okay, this is not something that we can fix with config, and it is a kernel patch.
I see.
There's a bug in the kernel side of bhyve, according to that review linked earlier, where when bhyve has to rendezvous all the vCPUs, and there are two rendezvous requests started by different vCPUs running concurrently, they would deadlock. Because each one would start locking some of the CPUs, and so nobody can ever finish. And yeah, so the solution is that if you detect that a CPU is locked, you help whoever has already acquired some locks to get that synchronization done, and then do your own.
I'm back, and yes, I did have this issue. For me, the solution was to just not pass through any USB controllers. For me, this only
It's
happens when I
related
pass.
to
Yeah,
PCI pass-through.
yes, PCI pass-through. For me, it happens when I pass through any USB controllers or audio controllers.
Yep.
Are you doing that,
It
Haysam,
seems
or
like
is
this
that
can
unrelated?
trivially
No,
be fixed.
I actually had this issue, like regardless of if I were passing through or not.
Okay.
I ran it on only Intel CPUs, so Intel with I think Xeons mostly, and I tried it out on a very new generation CPU as well as a very old one, and it was just not fun. And by that time, I think I kind of dropped my hopes for it being supported in 14 and just moved on to 15 where it was fine.
Hmm. Did this get, if this was abandoned, did it get fixed from a different direction?
Yes, it did. It did. I think Mark Johnson
Johnston, yeah.
made Johnston made the patch. And it was kind of based on Corwin's earlier work. So
Okay, got it.
yeah.
Well, as always, thank you, Mark. Mark, Corvin. Okay, so, well, it's fixed, but we can't have 15.1 too soon, it sounds like. Are things stable on 16 current? There was a point there, I think you advocated for
I
that.
have so much fun with Windows on 16 current. I actually run it for a client who uses it for like video editing workloads where they kind of push it to a NAS and then pipe video stuff into this VM and then do a bunch of stuff there. With NVIDIA pass-through, it all works great.
Got it. And is there something uniquely available there that's not in 15 stable?
I landed a few commits regarding VNC,
Okay.
but other than that, I don't think so. Not many.
Cool. Very happy with 16. Well, that's at least something. The promise is there. Right. Okay. So we've covered Windows reasonably well. Hans, I know you're busy, but you are probably in the best position to characterize how difficult it would be to bring in the newer VirtIO work. Brian V hasn't been around for years, who did the original bhyve VirtIO work. I don't know who to turn to beyond, say, you. So I guess think about what that looks like, because the tools are within reach, within sight, but somehow they're just not in the right place.
It's hard to
Remember
say how
correct?
long it will take, especially with all the testing requirements that you would have. But since the code is almost there, and I think on the VirtIO side, there's not that much difference between the two bhyves. A week, a month, something like that. Probably less
I
than a
think
month.
sorry.
I think I can just write a small proposal to the FreeBSD Foundation about
Yes,
this.
please. You're finishing my sentence for me.
Please double check if the work isn't already in progress, because I remember seeing some reviews a few weeks ago about bringing transitional VirtIO support to FreeBSD current.
Well, if someone else is writing it from scratch, that is exactly the kind of duplication that we want to avoid, isn't it?
Oh, so they started from scratch, not from the Illumos code.
That's well, of course, you can do that, but it seems a bit pointless to me.
Yeah, do we know do you remember a name associated with that? I'll do a quick search here on Fabricator for what it's worth. VirtIO.
Oh, while we're doing that,
Yes, please.
suggestion: we should add comments to functions of bhyve, like helpful comments at the starts of functions, because they're kind of hard to figure out. We need some
Well, if I write code,
self-documentation.
I usually do that. I add something to explain what I'm doing.
Yeah, we need some self-documentation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely something that you can ask for when you do a code review.
That's a good point.
I really like how Intel does it with explanation for every input of the function, its output, and a brief of how it works on the inside.
Well, you can always overdo it.
Yeah, that's an overdo, but I still like it a lot.
The thing is, with comments, they get outdated really quick.
Oh yeah.
Because often they are overlooked. So it's nice to have it there, but the more documentation you write, the more you have to update when you change something, and often it's
So
overlooked.
do we
And then
have?
you have code and comments disagreeing. So
Okay,
I
we
wouldn't
don't have the Google
suggest to
person
overdo
here.
it, but do something sensible.
I'm gonna just send a message to the Google person. I forgot what their name is. Wait, to the person who does document man pages for FreeBSD.
Oh, talking about Alexander, who's been on quite a bit. He's a documentationaholic.
Yeah, Zia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Alexander.
Strictly speaking, if you're just listing the general what the function does and what each of the inputs are, those are things that shouldn't really fall out of date as long as you're not covering the implementation details.
Exactly. The API contract and also the pre and post conditions are also something which seldomly changes. And if it does, it's really something you should document, because anyone who ever thought they knew the function will be tripped up. So even while we're manpower limited, code is still more often read than written. So most of the time, documentation is worth the effort if you can get yourself to write it.
Okay. Point taken there. Feel free to reach out to Alexander. I could even ping him here. We have doc questions. So Hazem, tell us more about this patch you like. Let's
So
see.
basically, I think this individual was kind of working on making libbhyve, which we can, use it in a very nice way instead of
Okay.
always trying to shell out to bhyve. And he also kind of figured out we could do a singular IPC thread that everybody can kind of send messages through, which is awesome because it allows for things like, me working on the VirtIO memory balloon driver, and there I had to kind of um, make a Unix socket, and then I have to communicate it through completely different ways. So if I have this in the generalized IPC thread, I could just reuse that code. So that is awesome. And in the same patch set, he has made a lot of things hot pluggable.
Oh,
VirtIO.net is hot
interesting.
pluggable. Then I think the Ethernet driver, one of them is hot pluggable now, which
All
would really
in.
make a UX a lot better because users could, instead of having to turn off their VMs, they can just swap
Oh,
out
well, yeah, no
the
question.
bridges that they use. Yeah.
Wait, so
So
hiding in here is libbhyve and hot pluggability in that same review?
I think you can open the stack in the revision that I linked,
Okay.
and you can see that he has a bunch of reviews open.
Oh, okay.
And I think Mark Johnston said he would look into these this month or the next one because
Okay.
they're really, really cool. And they kind of make things easier for both the devs and the user.
Okay, make sure I'm not losing any of these. Love this patch set. If you've got like a parent review, share it. I'm not seeing it somehow. But that's music to everyone's ears.
Yeah, making something easier for both devs and users, that's a win-win.
Yeah, what a concept. And then this one, the what are we looking at here? Uh, Tony Hutter, hello. Uh, who posted the DDT and is it ZFS related?
Oh, I did.
Yeah, well,
I
tell
did.
us more. What's going on there?
Yeah,
3 miles of
somebody mentioned
CDDL.
about bhyve comments, right? Like how they should be written.
Oh,
This is like
comments,
a
yes.
master class on how
Ah,
code should be written if
okay.
somebody is coming in with no experience on the code base, because I had to do some work on this like a few years ago, and it was insanely helpful where I don't have to know anything else about any other subsystems. I can just look at this file alone and kind of figure everything out that I need.
Hmm.
And yeah.
That's great. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the release engineer for OpenZFS, and he's delightful. Yeah, I'm seeing more comments than code, at least at the beginning there. Great, great. Alexi, is that what you picture?
What?
Is this what you imagine for comments in code? Hazem says this is one of the best examples he's seen.
At the start of functions, a brief explanation of how the function works. Yeah, this and at the start of the functions, like a brief explanation of what the function does.
Okay, here's fast dedupe described. Log.
This is a pretty good one. There's explanation for the variables. This is very good.
Are the variable or the variables?
At the bottom,
Okay.
bit
Well
bit
then,
down.
great.
Here you go.
Then
There's explanation for every single variable. That is something I like a lot.
yes. Cool. Okay. Well, and always feel free to flag good examples like that. Welcome, Alexander Zaid. Your timing is
Oh, hello.
spectacular. Hello.
Hey guys,
Hey, how are you
Hello,
doing?
Z. I wanted to I sent you a message on Discord.
I saw that, and then
Yeah.
when I clicked on that, I also saw that the link to the call was there. So,
Yeah.
hi, I miss you guys so much.
We missed you. Welcome.
Yes.
We were just talking about a master class in inline encode documentation. So that came up, and it initiated with Alexi thinking, hey, bhyve could
Sorry, I
use
dropped out for a
similar.
second.
Okay, bhyve could use this style code documentation for functions, as I recall it.
For functions and variables.
Functions and variables.
And
Yeah,
also, I
Sorry.
talked about we need documentation for the VirtIO ICLs and for ICLs for the VT driver, because this is not related to bhyve. That this is the system console that Freebies uses, the new VT one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
I've worked in the VT manual a lot, but for me, being like not really a programmer, there's not really that much I can put in. So like I put in how to change the scroll back buffer size, I put in how to change the colors, I put in all kinds of like little like user facing stuff like that that I've been able to learn from using it. But things like ioctls, like I can't use those yet, and I'm not really a good enough programmer to go and read that. So really the way that doc works is mostly that like I have like the tricks of where stuff should go and how it should go and like different doc principles that I've read, but it takes like I have to collaborate with subject matter experts in order to put stuff in, and the stuff that I'm really like have expertise in is all like really hyper user facing stuff. So if somebody has like knows the ioctls and wants to start listing them or wants to start working together with me on that, I can help make that good. But ioctls just go in an ioctls section. There's not a whole lot to it. And definitely, if somebody sends me that patch, I'll put it in all day and help them, make it good, that kind of thing, tag the right reviewers. But I know what ioctls are, of course, but there's like, yeah, like being like the doc guy really means send me the doc or send me the explanations for what kind of doc we need that's detailed. Like I can turn rough chicken scratch into doc, but I'm not a subject matter expert on this stuff.
And you shouldn't have to be, because the actual consumer you're after, the user, is not a subject matter expert. So it's probably a good thing that you're not. Like, you just know it. You assume things that developers assume that suddenly don't get communicated in docs, because air quotes, everybody knows that. So yeah, no, don't stress about that. If
But I would
someone wants
love to
belt
get
out a
those
wish list
patches.
of what's missing, let's, for example, Alex, if you can say, hey, this specific C file in bhyve could use, say,
Yeah,
descriptions
the
of all the
most important thing
variables.
is going to be the VirtIO header, which apparently has been stemming on since like Sun Microsystems, since like
Really?
version of Solaris. I think Solaris 3.
Okay, okay,
Because I found
okay,
references to it in ancient Solaris manual
okay,
pages when it was like back in books.
okay.
I found it in book scans.
The
And with like the same
FBIO.
code as in our FBIO.
Huh.
So this has been stemming from since a long time. And I just had a long time figuring out how to use it, and now yeah, I kind of figured out some of it. I can now draw some stuff on the VT frame buffer, and apparently it's not that bad. You just use an ioctl iostl, how we call it, to
ioctl,
query the
either
frame
way.
buffer type and
Mhm.
size, and then you just open it, or well, mmap it into the memory just as a raw data, and then you don't need to put the bitmap into some special place. You just mmap tty v0 specifically. That's where the frame buffer is. Or ttys don't work. Even if you're in like tty2, you still need to mmap tty v0,
Okay. So,
and
Solaris
then you
folks, do you
just
think there's
write data to it.
docs hiding out there in some place Alexia hasn't bumped into? If it's that ancient?
Man, I would be interested in checking out what's going on in Illumos because Illumos has unbelievably good docs.
We should check that. I've not thought of that.
Oh, yeah, this is a living error to all things Solaris. Folks should be excellent about this.
You
So,
will have to be
Basically,
careful.
go ahead.
You will have to be careful though, in that you may have on something deviated, so you may have docs about something that are wrong for BFC.
Sure, fair enough, but you got to start with understanding the initial intent. Hans, hate to press on you, but do you have any thoughts on that? Or have you bumped into this corner of a Solaris and a Lumos?
Which corner exactly?
FBIO, the frame buffer
Oh,
goodness. Because
no, I have
Alex, he's
absolutely no
trying to
clue.
work with the VT frame buffer, and Alexander's happy to document it, but we're kind of struggling on what the facts are.
I have no idea about this stuff.
That's an honest answer.
I know that we've got some UEFI frame buffer support a couple years back.
Okay.
Before that, we didn't even have any generic frame buffer support on x86.
Okay.
A graphics driver for X and DRM, KMS, and stuff like that has been neglected for a while and isn't really up to date.
Okay. Well, Alex, you take a peek at modern Lumos. Maybe it will answer your questions.
I have something
Okay.
kind of
Yes,
tangentially
Alexander.
related.
Sure, we're all over the map today. Go for it.
So we have a notion of it's an extremely overloaded term, so bear with me. But we have a notion in FreeBSD of the system console, which is the interface that basically spits out D messages to TTYV0. And are you guys following? Did I explain that good enough?
Yeah, no, that's great. I
So
follow.
those are like horrifyingly tangled up. Like there's a lot of different mechanisms that does that. And We have a lot of different sysctls that adjust the behavior, but it only adjusts it just adjusts the behavior of like certain parts of it because it's like literally a mess. And that's like a giant project that if somebody, somebody young and hungry wanted to fix that, I expect that to be a time commitment of like something you work on a little bit here and there for like a year or two, right? It's like really complicated, but I know that all of the grandmasters in FreeBSD associated with those areas of the system would bend over backwards to help mentor someone who was starting that and showing initiative and keeping it moving and trying to do that. But that would really, really change the game if that was separated into one clean thing to where our sysctls could actually work to say, move that over to a different TTY or disable that or whatever.
Selfish question. Can one do a tail dash
wait a
F on
second.
D message, or is it just keep running it, or what? And would this work hypothetically fix that?
Unless it's broken, and I never noticed, we have support in FreeBSD with the const control command to add additional TTY-like devices as system console and remove them, mute devices, and so on. So, for example, if you have a USB to serial adapter, which can't be used as an early system console, you could still switch at runtime because USB is not ready at the time you would possibly need the system console. So you can't use a USB as the very early console, but
Alexander, are you familiar with that command? It's short.
Yeah, that's also, I think you use that same interface actually. I think that command does all kinds of things. I think that's the same one that you can use to change actually the scrollback buffer size on boot. And one thing it used to have that it doesn't have anymore, like it has it in syscons, but it doesn't have it in VT, is the ability to log all that to a file with that command, and then also to screenshot. So you used to be able to basically tail TTY to a file.
That's
or TTY to a file. There's watch, but it used to be like the whole thing, like console messages that come on DMESC aren't in the same interface, so watch won't pick those up. Like it used to be unbelievably robust, and then we don't have that anymore.
And we get all those control
VT
characters
took
when you
over
do
from syscons.
script.
Sorry?
Yes, Jan, what, sorry?
Then VT took over from syscons, and some seldomly used features were lost because nobody knew or could be bothered to implement them.
In some cases, it was complex. Like someone, you used to use const control command to take screenshots of TTYs. Right? That's a killer feature, and I would love to have that. And I would love to have video recordings of screenshots to TTYs. But someone from Japan tried to re-implement that, but the simple patch was not so simple because the way VT is implemented made it a little bit messy.
So
I can probably implement that.
Okay.
Do you mean with taking screenshots of TTYB, so the frame buffers, or of arbitrary TTYs? Because that can't really be done because you would have to know the complete history of everything ever transmitted to kind of run the terminal state machine to get a screen content out of the byte stream.
Yeah, it was TTYVs, and Alexi, if you go to try to mess with that, look on the forums, because on the forums you can see some dude from Japan quite a few years ago did it already, but
I can probably make a screenshotter for
it
like
was a mess.
I can probably make a pretty small screenshotter for like the current TTY that you're on. in with like only one external library because I don't know how to write proper images yet, so I'm gonna use the STB image.
Yeah, if you look at syscons and you look at cons control, the stuff hasn't been ripped out of FreeBSD yet. That you used to be able to do it. So, you know,
I am
if you
not
find the
doing cons
behavior,
control.
Okay.
I'm just ripping the straight frame buffer data out of TTY v0 and just doing the other data as an image.
that would be helpful.
And that actually reminds me of something, Anthony, I think you were doing. You were doing screenshots of VM output to reference as sort of a smoke test. Was that accurate? And so maybe there is, in fact, a bhyve specific value to having the ability to screenshot both the frame buffer and the PTY to say, yeah, this is what a Maluma's boot screen should look like, as opposed to a kitten ASCII art. Anyhow, Alexander, could you just do some napkin notes on what one thing, what we've lost, because I was sure burned by the move to VT, and suddenly TypeScript files are filled with like Karen M garbage, and it sounds like we've lost some of that capturing, screenshotting, tailing, you name it. So,
I'm still using TypeScript for some things. TypeScript seems to work fine.
do you not get it littered with a bunch of control characters?
Yes, it is littered for control
Exactly.
characters.
I swear that wasn't a thing for the first 2 decades.
I'm just
but
using
then
sed to remove them.
Exactly. You shouldn't have to do that. So, Alexander, is that the category of chaos and concern? Feel free and post-it notes, wiki, wherever, just say, hey, here's what we've lost. Can we get there? What's going on? Because that's a little niche for the topic at hand. Ba, 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 ba. And you have message buffer timestamps. What? Maybe tell us more. Oh yes, Alexi.
Huh? I didn't say anything.
I heard something. Or
yeah,
I think we have. Go ahead, Alexander. What's on your mind?
I can definitely start something on freebsd.org/tilde-zi. I keep everything there. I don't like to use the wiki because then I have to boot up a desktop and my NVIDIA driver is always broken.
Fair enough.
And I'm not that good at fixing that.
Okay. Well, we've tapped into an issue that impacts bhyve users, but it's a little outside of bhyve itself, especially on other OSs, but we may have things to learn from Maluma. So anything else there, or should we move on?
So,
Someone's
having a
super
real hard
quiet
time
or
hearing
something. Yeah, I don't know if that was for us or others. While you think about other topics, this came across the Fediverse desk, and it was an unsupported instruction failed to emulate. Has anyone seen this? And it was software TPM in Windows 11. Hazem.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Okay.
And I use SWTPM as well for Windows
I've
11.
seen
you are.
unsupported instruction in Windows 11 so many times.
Yeah. What triggers it for you? The pass-through or something else?
Where do I start listing it?
Okay. Yeah. Well, is it specific to PCI pass-through, which sounds like you're doing a whole lot of?
No, it's some system like utility, some system status programs that show CPU temperature, like HWinfo. It's some memory testing programs. It's some games some games of anti-cheat specifically. Some random unrelated programs that have optimizations, I believe, that just don't work on bhyve. I don't know. There's a lot of programs that just do this for no reason for me.
Do track what is reproducible, because that's a great start. Because if you can reproduce it, then some
HWinfo. HWinfo, it's one of the most reproducible things. You run it in the full status mode. I think full system information actually mode. Yeah, full system information. If you run it in status mode, then it just shows you a bunch of temperatures and that's it. If you run it in full system information, then it freezes for a couple of tens of seconds and then just crashes the entire VM with that error.
Thank you. That is tangible and actionable. If I can type ASA VM. When you're next on Windows, could you please try that utility, which seems non-controversial, but I will make that bright red because that's reproducible.
Okay.
Everyone. And I say you to literally everyone, be it Hazem, be it anyone. Daniel, looking at you.
I'll also
Looking
try
at
it
you.
on some other systems,
Awesome.
specifically on Windows 11, Windows 11 that you're saying crash.
So Windows 11, Alexi, is where you see it?
Both Windows 11 and Windows 10.
And
Okay.
question for you, is this the correct HW info?
Yeah,
Yes.
it should be.
Got it. Thank you.
That's a very well-known tool.
HWINFO is how they camel case it. Fix that. Boom. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Well, there's a perfect example of actionable documentation and how things can be improved. Here's actionable bug reporting that could find a failed CPU emulation. Good work, everyone. And then similarly, bringing it full circle to you, Alexi, this came across my desk this morning, which was, hey, we don't have a resizable bar on the prolific R730XD, and someone pointed them to this code.
I'm interested in this.
Okay.
I'm gonna try
you're the
compiling
first person I
EDK2 with
thought.
this.
Okay.
Yeah. You're gonna have to I'm gonna have to compile EDK2 with this inside
Oh, interesting.
as a module.
Does it have a notion of actual modules where it would be external and you just aim at it or put it in a directory, or it has to be compiled?
I don't think so, because
Okay.
I see directories that like you're supposed to compile EDK2 with. There's gonna be, if you scroll up.
Yep. La-di-da-di-da. Well, there's the
going to
code.
be ReBarDXE. There you go.
Okay.
That's pretty much all you need to compile.
5 months ago. Okay. Cool.
I don't. You should be able to just compile this alone and then inject it into EDK2, but you still need to modify like the BIOS file itself.
Okay.
But yeah. And we also have a different issue. ReBar does not work if you have it enabled in BIOS on the host, because bhyve does not know how to handle that. It only knows actually not bhyve, that's gonna be VMM. It doesn't know how to handle ReBar on the host in pass-through. So we're gonna have to think about that too.
Okay. The host. Need to think about that. And hey, Hans, I hope that is slightly where you've spent some time, and let's see what comes out of Alexi's research. So, wow, we've covered a lot of great territory. And Hazem, you've got perhaps another instruction
I
violation
just got
failure?
hit with the exact same thing. The individual from the Fediverse posted about. I think that is the same stuff, right?
Let's see. Yeah,
Let me take a look.
hit it. I'll compare them. I'll move it on the dock. Just 1 sec. Boom, boom, boom.
And this was a Windows 11 VM I hadn't updated for some reason, but now that I updated, I see that.
Did you use this tool or something else?
Sorry?
Did you use
No, I didn't use
HWInfo?
anything. I just tried to
Okay.
start up my remote desktop, and it just got hung at the password screen. So
Yikes. Okay. Let's see. Failed to emulate instruction sequence. 8944. Yep. Boom. And you say you simply updated and connected?
yeah, that's it.
That's a
And
terrifying
now,
notion.
yeah.
Ooh. As in, was it a major quarterly update or a security fix or something?
I'm not really sure. It just told me like I have to update or the sun will stop burning or something like that. And then I, went through with it.
Okay, well,
Windows.
red alert. Just saying.
Do we know what those instructions come out to?
Andrew, was that for us? Oh, you're muted. Nope, probably not. Maybe you are.
Yes. Do we know what that instruction sequence turns out to be? Do you have any idea?
Okay,
That
do we
seemed
know
to
what
be a
this instruction
lock.
is?
That seemed to be normal instruction, and it also has a lock instruction. I've never seen a lock instruction. Let me check what it is. I have an assembly. I got an assembly. Here's the
So
assembly.
on a lock prefix to an instruction means that this operation happens atomically. For example, a compare and
Oh,
swap.
wait. Okay.
It's not an instruction, it's a modifier to the next instruction. So you normally.
Okay.
Let's look at this
Thanks.
bug report. Thank you. The search actually found it based on the instruction. And
It's a
let's see.
prefix
Failed
to
to
the
emulate.
OR instruction. Okay.
November 14.3. Dev null. Oh.
So historically, this was implemented as hold the CPU bus locked while doing something so that no other CPU or DNA engine can run.
Edmast is following this from February and reopened it. So yeah, here we go. Looks like there's not support for the lock prefix. Boom.
Well, that's a good bit of info on that.
And Alexei, that's the instructions that
Yeah,
blow up.
that is
Okay.
put this to monospace. Oh yeah, why is there
It's-
no proper spacing here?
Where?
Huh.
Hmm.
Okay, let me
I've
try
got it in the
copying
doc.
it like
Okay. Well, I put it in the doc.
Okay,
Is that the
can you
same
give me
thing?
access to doc?
That's wide open. So here, I'll drop it in the chat.
Let me try to find it.
Sure. I've got it right here. So good find. There's the fix.
Okay.
Ed's aware of it, but yeah, not yet resolved. I'll just put that there.
So fun
For what it's
fact,
worth,
that's
Yes.
please go ahead.
Go ahead, Hazem,
we go.
who's seen it, but then Alexander. Yes, Hazem?
I think I edited it.
Oh, okay.
Let's look.
I got Windows to boot again. I logged in, so
Yeah.
I think it's kind of sporadic, maybe. And I got HW info to run, which is nice. So what was the setting that he mentioned caused the issue?
It didn't look like you mentioned a setting. It looked like it was more along the lines of that lock prefix is just
Yeah,
not
this one.
implemented. So it seems Windows is calling that intermittently.
Bro. I love that nickname.
Okay. And Alexander, you had something?
Oh, just a fun fact. Everybody's freaking out about Mythos, and so far it's only found one vulnerability in FreeBSD, which we fixed.
Oh, oh, right. Okay. Cool.
That AI thingy.
Yeah, that's like
interesting-
allegedly like AI apocalypse, like found like 181 bugs in Chrome, like remote vulnerabilities and everything, and then it's like it hasn't really found anything actionable in FreeBSD.
Okay.
So,
Take
Well,
your
Maybe
what
time,
that
it
Jim.
tells us Chrome is actually very not
wow.
well made.
That's
Shocker.
not really true. Chrome is just so massive, which you could say, yes, it shouldn't
Yeah,
be
okay, yeah.
as huge as it is, but the actual quality of the Chrome code isn't that bad for what it aims to be.
Save it for the Chrome call.
They don't
Yep.
even bother checking certificates how they say they should.
Okay.
So that's all I have to say.
Great. Save it for the Chrome call. Thank you for bringing this up. It sounds like a bunch of people are experiencing it. And I'll perhaps make a reference in that review or the bug report that, hey, people are definitely feeling this. Okay. let's see, moving on, boom. Oh, we talked about the bar goodie. Thank you for looking at that, Alexi. Okay, anything else? And my cursor won't move. There it is. Okay. Great stuff. Oh, Anthony, you had some thoughts, questions, ideas based on yesterday's call.
Yeah, I just wanted to get some feedback because I slept on it and was kind of thinking about, hey, how can we go about this?
Yeah.
The crux of the problem or the solution, the crux of the issue was to test ZFS on Linux without it taking a week.
Oh, yes.
So,
Boom. And the time to set up and all that, you name it. Yes, please.
so I had a look into some of the options that I can use with that build tool, and I wasn't sure about some stuff. Like, I don't know how you're actually doing testing. But some of the ideas that I came up with is if I use a cloud image, I can give you a one-touch button that basically pulls down all 6 Linux cloud images, deploys them all, and everybody's, Bob's your uncle, so to speak. I wasn't sure if you just need the tools on the actual distribution or if they need to be set up and run stuff, if you want all of that automated. And the other question that I had was, is there any shared data sets that maybe we should just like put all the tools on a shared data set and then
interesting. Maybe send them in or something. I mean, literally, you would have, OS specific issues. The same binaries wouldn't be so happy on FreeBSD and Linux, but I like where you're headed with that.
And then the last one was just like, what exactly is the test against? Is it going to be against the ISO version and we don't want the cloud version? Or is there, like, how many different versions do we need for that tooling? But to summarize, I think that I can condense the spin up of the 6 VMs with all of the tools into about 3 or 4 seconds.
Hallelujah.
And then you would have, basically the workflow would be Ubuntu version 1 comes out, you build a golden image clone of it, you do whatever you want, you test with it, you destroy it, you can bring it back up, et cetera, et cetera. Then when Ubuntu launches version 1.1, you would build a new clone and then be good to go until they release 1.2, et cetera. So I just wanted to find out, like, is that a good workflow? What am I missing? What improvements? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. So linearly, and I'll catch people up on what the heck we're talking about. You did mention post-install step 1, step 2, step 3, and for some people, that's step 1. For some, it could be several. So even just having that plumbing to be able to say, hey, this step does hypothetically a ZFS send of the, and I'll try to answer what the context right here. Send in the ZFS test suite compiled into a newly crafted cloud image that you've generated with your tool kldload.com, I believe. Load.com, take a peek at that. And so you have the tool to build these OpenZFS enabled Linux distros very rapidly. And it occurred to me on yesterday's call that by doing all those rapid platforms as potentially, in this case, testing coverage platforms, one could then very quickly have them all prepared to kick off the OpenZFS test suite, say the moment there's a new major release of or minor release of OpenZFS, and we want to know as quickly as possible if it's going to implode on them. So yeah, again, based on what you said yesterday of like, hey, here are the post steps that you can do. Well, that's plenty of hooks from the start. But if you have more ideas of how to follow your own personal philosophy on it, great. Be opinionated. And if in production that means, say, Silva VMs, great. If that means all the things, great. And and for what it's worth, I don't know, Alexei, if you looked at that, but he's injecting, say, NVIDIA drivers and doing LLMs, but some of it required Linux for the proper NVIDIA drivers. But I know people have made progress with a mix of Linux compatibility and such on FreeBSD. So
You can just use Vulkan if you really want to run LLMs on FreeBSD and NVIDIA, but
No,
it's not as fast as the native NVIDIA stuff.
Okay, good to know.
Like, but if you really want, you can just use Vulkan.
Vulkan. Okay. Anthony, does that answer a fraction of the questions you just asked?
I guess I forgot one question too.
Sure, please. And I may have missed hearing them because that was.
Is there a need to test on both VM and hardware?
I would argue yes. GitHub Actions, I'm pretty sure, are in VMs, and that is the official test suite for OpenZFS. I could be wrong.
So for ZFS regression tests and stuff like that, yes, you have interactions with the real world storage drivers. So kind of you want, but for just does it build, does it pass its own normal self-test, like does the ZFS layer work, then fine, test it in a virtual machine. But you kind of want to know that it boots on real hardware. For example, bootloaders on real hardware run on a different EFI implementation than in a virtual machine.
Yes, but if it's something like checking the space accounting, hopefully the space accounting is accurate in whatever environment. But yeah, there's a time and place for each of those. And Hazem chimed in, hey, have you tried netboot.xyz, which means, hey, maybe all of these systems you're generating could be netbootable. I don't know if netbootability is in your scope at all.
I guess I'll talk about that rather than trying to type it all out. The long and short story is that none of that netboot or Pixie or any of that, all of that's obsolete with my tool.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, welcome someone. It is needed.
And the other key difference is that those kind of tools only place images. My tool actually builds from scratch the actual distribution. So all of the kernel extensions and stuff are kernel specifically matched and available on first boot. And that kind of suite just kind of kicks off whatever your basic image is.
Those could be provided over a netboot environment, could they not? It's a kernel, it's a userland, it's a system.
Oh, you could absolutely use it. It would fit right in. You would just have to change your default ISO that you're using to the one that you
no question.
to generate the one from my tool.
Cool.
So
I would assume that's all pretty pluggable, which is nice. So yes, if someone has a use case that it's purely over netboot, great. Have a nice day.
Well, that's the fun part, is because all you need to do is export to an image and change your netboot to point to the new image, and you're done. Every single image will now have baked in ZFS if you just use the core function. So it's the best of both worlds because I sit right below the Packer level.
I'll throw in IPFC and Ventoy, but hey, that's for people to experiment with on their own. Well, we've covered some excellent ground. If we were to resolve the issues we brought up today, then that would definitely move things forward, especially for, say, FreeBSD 15, and I think some would hopefully trickle back to Illumos. We have a pressing Windows emulation issue. We have VirtIO that will hopefully make its way in. And we mentioned the IPC, the pluggability, you name it. So I'm recapping for the sake of listeners who are like, oh, I want to work on that. And yes, please help out. So that said, other thoughts, questions, topics, ideas, questions, concerns, funny jokes, you name it. Going down the list here. So Anthony, does that answer your questions as you phrased them to yourself before you jumped on the call?
I think so. I think for now I'm just going to do netboots, and then that should be relatively easy to do. So I'll just put like a little button for the target. So you pick your distribution, pick the
Oh.
button, select core, press a button.
I have
And
an
it'll build
awful
it all.
one related to that point. So a colleague who occasionally joins these tried WDS, Windows Deployment Server, I believe is the acronym, and bhyve and UEFI and Pixie booting for this similar kind of, hey, let's bring in a machine. And initially had no luck. WDS plus bhyve plus UEFI plus DXE. Believe I had issues. Has anyone tried anything remotely like that, be it a Pixie booted VM of any kind with bhyve and the UEFI plumbing? I was concerned that VirtIO is not supported such that you don't have a meaningful network driver, or you lose it the moment that the kernel loads because, hey, you go from whatever supported in UEFI to something not supported in Windows. Just a thought.
If someone knows how to use Pixie, our Pixie documentation is straight out of the 90s.
Oh dear Lord. Okay, thank you, Alex.
So,
Bearer of bad news. Okay.
Alexander, I looked into this a month or two ago. Even worse, I looked into it for PowerPC 64-bit.
Yes.
Anyway, turns out, yes, not just our network boot documentation is out of the 90s. Basically, the code is as well.
Oh, you discovered that, right? You found that it was
So,
yeah. Remind us
here's
of
an
that
interesting
pain you found.
horror story.
Yes.
Somewhere in libstem there is a function called something send receive, which works like that. It sends a single IP packet and expects the response to that packet, whatever that meant, to be the next packet the network card delivers when polled. If not, it will just discard the packet and start an exponential back off in multiples of 1 second, which tops out at 600 seconds. And there is no retry limit for the number of
Take care,
retries,
Hazel.
just for the whole operation. So it turns out, yeah, you can effectively hang the boot forever if at the right stage during the boot process you just start pinging the PXE client. Because the network card will always, or almost always, deliver a ping packet, which has been queued instead of the actual response. And then doesn't even have to be a real flop ping, just a ping of once per second is basically enough to stop the PXE boot code. I found that at least on the machines I tried, it was horribly, horribly slow to boot with the default settings, where it acts as an NFS version 2 client over UDP. But if you configure the system to load the kernel and loader conf and so on via TFTP and didn't ping it aggressively, it was a lot better. But the problem is that in that configuration, the kernel does not boot with an already established NFS association as the root file system. So it will then try to, instead of take over the NFS, to mount the root file system over NFS, and that will, in my experience, just hang. So yeah. So
Jan, here's your exact words from February. And
no, that's your misquotation. It's
okay, let's get this is my
not,
notes from
you
there.
got
Feel
the
free to
units wrong, but still.
let's fix it
Yeah.
as appropriate. So let's
Let me
fix it
look.
right here, right now. What's it need to be? These
It's
units?
ordered kilobytes per second, not bits.
Oh, there.
Mm,
Anyhow,
So
that
yeah, the
needs some
problem is
love,
that
and the docs need some love.
basically you call into the PXE boot ROM to get and to send and receive packets at that stage because there is no driver, and it depends on what your option ROM does. Some work acceptably well, others are so horrible you think your system has stopped. And even if you have the perfect connection between the server and the boot client, just a straight Ethernet connection between two laptops with no other traffic.
Yeah.
If you boot with NFS, expect to wait 10 minutes for the system to come up.
Alrighty.
Once the kernel is loaded, and actual kernel code handles the network card, everything is fine. NFS performance is as expected, so you can run the system like it. But before that, it's horrible.
Okay.
I've been tempted to include a tiny little MFS root image, which would reroute once it has established the MFS connection or something like that, to get around that, so that you don't need to mount the root file system over NFS. But you have a tiny little MD device embedded in the kernel. Image. If you have it working correctly, then it still only transfers the kernel code at about 400 kilobytes per second, so less than 1 megabyte per second, or 0.5% of what your gigabit Ethernet should be doing. But still, with that speed, loading the kernel code takes just a few seconds. So you can get a boot time of 30 seconds or so. I found the two lines which implement the exponential backoff and just commented out the code.
Yeah.
Which does the exponential backoff. Of course, that's a horrible idea to do, but it solves the performance problem. If you have a network which is not congested, it works great. If you have actual network congestion, let's say you're booting a whole FreeBSD supercomputer cluster because you have 1,000 or more FreeBSD systems all trying to net boot at the same time, and you're actually overloading your boot server's network bandwidth with all of those boot requests, then the exponential backoff is what allows the system to ever make progress. Yeah, I think a proper solution for this would be to import some microcontroller-friendly IP stack into the base system, something like LWIP, for use in the boot phase, instead of this horrible abomination that is the send receive function in libsend.
Okay. I'm trying to find that net.c. Is it the one in stand or
Yeah,
what?
it is there, net.c in stand, yes.
Have they possibly moved it recently?
I'm on
See.
15.0.
Let me hop in
So,
here. Source. Okay, so you have a very kludgy workaround, and you can do better, I'm hearing.
I think it's in stand libsa net.c. And there's the send receive function.
If that's in front of you, drop it in chat. So remarkable trouble.
I will.
Thank you. Anyway, so Alexander, that might not have been what you want to hear, but here we are.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the situation is because I just have a laptop,
Yeah.
but I know that in the hyperscale environment, everything boots off of some form of netboot. I know that FreeBSD supports at least something.
I'm a head out now.
Okay, take care,
Oh, see you.
Alexi. Baka.
I know that we have, it might not be like the latest everything perfect, but it's definitely advanced much further than what our manual would suggest.
Okay, except for what Jan is encountering. He's an unhappy
N-
camper.
n- No, I'm sure that the situation is bad. I'm just saying I don't think it's as bad as the manual suggests.
Okay.
And
So
the manual for this, by the way, is called diskless.
yes, and there is another way of booting. So the other common payload in server network cards instead of PXE is iSCSI. In theory, we have a kernel module called, I think, ISBoot or something, which runs this iSCSI initiator to talk to the disk as if it's a local disk and not a network file system, and then possibly even hand over the iSCSI TCP parameters to build a kernel network socket which matches that, and then continue booting, uh, so that you can then run iSCSI. I never tried that.
That's been
Yeah.
available as an option for a very long time, and some of the independent open source firmwares support it, and it works
Mm.
at least reasonably well.
I think the proper way to do it is to have some get rid of the stupid PXE implementation built into common network cards or BIOSes, and only use them, if at all, to boot into something better like IPXE, an open source implementation. And these, in theory, can speak different network protocols. I have yet to find any documentation how to get UEFI HTTP boot working with FreeBSD. There's a chance, apparently, that this is a lot faster than trying to get modern-ish systems to boot with PXE, because PXE, as far as I understand, is inherently the real PXE implementation, not the network protocols used, is inherently tied to the BIOS boot process. So on new enough hardware, it's not even an option anymore because Intel and AMD uh, encouraged slash forced vendors to get rid of BIOS compatibility mode. On proper servers with sufficient quality IPMI implementation, there's also the option of providing the boot device via the BMC. For example, Dell calls it vFlash, so that you put an SD card in there or have the IPMI BMC mount the actual NFS or SMB share with the boot medium on there, and then provide it as something like a USB CD-ROM or USB mass storage device. That are also options. I assume the hyperscalers are more in that direction. So to their server, the network boot device looks like a read-only USB stick.
Alrighty. Well, yes, that manual page even admits that it's probably out of date and
So
certain.
it admitted it was out of date back in FreeBSD 4,
Okay.
right? But
And gives an
this,
example of 4.7. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but this is really about all the BSDs used to share a script called diskless. It used to be an edX/examples. FreeBSD ripped it out a while ago. I think OpenBSD, they've improved it and they still have it. But basically, we've kept that manual because we've decided that this is the appropriate place for netboot stuff to go.
Okay.
Right. So, but everything in this manual is wrong.
Hmm.
That's what I think that's what Warner told me. I'm looking for it in my IRC logs, but I can't find it. Yeah, there's something, but the problem is I don't know how to ask these kind of questions because like I know there's iSCSI, I know there's IPXE, but I don't know like what's it supposed to look like. Like if someone is coming from an environment where we don't have these kind of technological constraints where it's just like the latest Linux that supports everything under the sun, right? Then it's like if they wanted to net boot, what would they use? You know what I mean? And like what does that look like? And I just don't have the time to educate myself on that.
Okay, maybe a shortcut I can give you is that IPXE is a PXE implementation. Technically, you can burn that into a network card and make it work like the one built in. But it can also be put on a CD or USB stick to be booted from a local USB device. So you get a cheap 1 GB USB disk-on module, put the PXE client on that, boot from the internal USB, and have it pull the kernel and so on from the network. And another, probably the most interesting configuration is you keep the stupid implementation built into your NIC or your BIOS/UEFI and use it to download IPXE via TFTP, and then you chain boot because IPXE is small, so performance is not an issue there. And then you can use the better IPXE implementation of which also supports different options. Yeah.
Oh, I found the chats. So Thomas Soom, who did a lot of stuff in Loader, he says that loader.efi has some HTTP bits, but not PXE loader. That's probably an important detail. So I said, this is, I don't know when this is, but I said, how does modern PXE work? PXE loader is in stan/i386. And Lee Wen, one of the core team members, he said, for modern, may we consider HTTP boot? And then Darius said, lots of choices. I've done PXE to load syslinux, then have it use HTTP. But if your hardware is new enough, it would do HTTP or maybe iSCSI ... And Thomas said that it works, HTTP works a little bit or has some HTTP bits in loader EFI. And then DCH, our friend, said he's got some notes up. Let me throw it in the chat. Let me docs.
What has Dave done?
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
I know for our side of things, when doing netboot for installation using Kayak, we do an initial load. We can do an initial load on, using kind of a normal PXE setup, and then everything after that is done using HTTP.
All right. Here it is. HTTP booting FreeBSD.
Drop a link in.
Oh, you know I'm doing it. Yeah. So you can HTTP. So this is what disk list needs to be updated to reflect, right? HTTP is the new PXE. I guess. This is it. This is the stuff.
I think hotness is the word you're looking for.
So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Okay. Ta-da.
Okay, wait a second. Can you scroll up? Yeah, okay.
Does this solve your problem, Jan?
Hmm?
Does this solve your problem? Your ridiculously
If
slow network?
I don't know exactly how the UEFI HTTP client is implemented, it's still TCP on top of that send receive function, then no. If it has a higher level entry point to the boot network stack of UEFI, then possibly, because then the firmware offers a network stack as a boot time service, and this network stack is hopefully not from 1996.
Mm.
Yeah, so for me, like I have no idea, but I need like engineers to read this stuff, but if like if this gets to a point where I can understand some directions that I can follow in like netboot one of my Raspberry Pis off of another one. I think like one of my superpowers is like not really being smart enough to understand all this stuff, because it means when I do write the doc, it's accessible.
Bingo. That's the point I made earlier. It's like, yeah, it's be a user. Go ahead.
Noting that we're probably getting into the range of off topic, it is, like I said, I'm almost completely sure that we can use our loader to go from a legacy BIOS Pixie to using HTTP for the rest. And since our loader is a fork of BSD loader, if you guys can't, it's worth going through and seeing what the differences are.
And what was that path from BIOS to Pixie or Pixie to BIOS?
I mean, that should be using legacy BIOS and using the option ROM for Pixie.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure I've been doing that for ever.
Okay. Maybe that's correct. Welcome.
But after
AA.
we switched to using BSD loader.
Got it. Oh, and are there docs that you followed and could maybe drop somewhere?
I set the system up forever ago. So I don't remember. It just keeps going.
Just works. Okay. Feel free to share any docs you have, because you probably might need those yourself if it's been long enough. And welcome AA. There's no pressure to participate. We've been at it for quite some time and covered a lot of ground, but if you've got some questions or ideas, bring them on. Okay, Raspberry Pi is not a normal laptop.
So Raspberry Pi is a quirky system even by ARM standards,
Yes, it is.
where it kind of boots through the graphics card because the CPU is just a peripheral of the graphics chip. It's a really weird, fucked up architecture, which was designed for a set-top box and then extended upon because the Raspberry Pi was so successful. So the first Raspberry Pi used a chip from Broadcom, which they didn't have a market for. So they were cheap. And the guys who started the project already had contact at at Broadcom,
Yeah.
so they started using that chip, even though it was a horrible chip in most regards. It was just cheap and available. It was the killer feature, of course. But because of that, the whole boot process is really strange and different even from most embedded ARM systems.
And
And
I recall
totally
you.
different from ARM with EFI boot, unless you install EFI on top of the existing boot code, which can be done on a Raspberry Pi 4 and 5.
Yeah, I have it
But
on my
it's not that
Raspberry Pi
common.
4,
Yeah,
but it sucks because FreeBSD drivers are all expecting to be loaded via FDT, and when I tried to look at what is involved in making them also probe from ACPI, it was like beyond my programming understanding.
yeah, you're probably fighting the quirks required to make it work on a Raspberry Pi without UEFI. Those are different philosophies. if you're treating your system as a kind of microcontroller like system where everything is burned into the image and you know exactly the hardware present. And for some things on ARM, especially older systems, you have to do that because there is no runtime discoverability mechanism to know what's attached where. For example, if you have a voltage regulator hooked up via I2C or some, I don't know, fan controller via SPI, you just have to know that it's there because there is no USB or PCI-like mechanism to dynamically look up what's connected to the CPU.
I thought it was ACPI when you use UEFI.
Yes, but unless you could, I think, okay, possibly you could just build it so that the ACPI tables are hardware, but normally you would discover that and then fill out the tables in firmware at runtime every time you boot and not build a fixed one.
Oh, that explains actually a lot.
So on a PC, yes, there are a bunch of tables burned into the BIOS or UEFI image, but normally stuff like how much memory is there and so on is not burned into the SPI flash chip on your main board, but it's discovered on boot. And yeah,
Well, so I'm not
and
hung
then
up on using the Raspberry Pi. That's just like some cheap hardware that is available. And most of the time, like most hardware is not really available. It's like, oh yeah, go spend $200 on eBay, and it's like, bro, I can't do that. Like,
yeah, but the answer is get some old laptops. They can be 10 or 15 years old for now. Anything with an AMD 64 capable CPU and a supported network card
X220,
get you
baby.
going. The go-to device would be something like an old X220 or
Oh, you're
something.
welcome.
Yeah, there are probably plenty to be had around by just asking other BSD developers close to you if someone can ship you a pair. Because they're getting old in the tooth, but they would still be useful for this work. So yeah, if you want a system where you can run the boot services, so DHCP, TFTP, and NFS, that can be any FreeBSD system. And you want a system directly connected to that, where you do the actual experiments. So that you first have a perfectly clean network environment with no unwanted chatter and so on. And once it works there, you try it in your home lab, connected to the rest of your home network, right?
Jan, quick question. Was there a point that you had to like burn a resistor on the Raspberry Pi to get it to Pixie boot?
I don't know.
Well, there's some ungodly little hack there to do that. Anyway, oh, welcome AA and AA. Trying to get stuck. Can you do CPU bit masking? Ooh, okay. Do you have audio working and are you willing to chat or shall I just take your comments here in the code in the chat and say, okay. Can you specify what it was? CPU bit masking. So yeah, same person. I know. So, can you explain what you want answered here? Oh, bit 31 on AMD in this. Does that ring a bell for people?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
No worries, no worries.
I
Yeah.
assume he's talking about an MSR to control which CPU instruction set extensions are reported to a bhyve guest, so that you could hide a CPU feature from a VM. Most hypervisors can do that. As far as I know, bhyve always reports a full set that is safe to report according to the kernel. So we have kind of a list of things you must mask, and everything else is passed through, or maybe there's a whitelist of stuff passed through. It should be fairly simple to find that point and change it, but as far as I know, it's not dynamic.
Well, Hans is literally working on a foundation project to do CPU ID work, which might be exactly that. Who
Yeah,
stepped
these
away a
are
minute ago.
related MSR.
Hmm.
So yeah, the answer would be you want some kind of VM exit if you read that so that the hypervisor traps that and then lies that certain features, let's say AVX 512, are not available.
Okay.
I don't know what exactly bit 31 in that register controls, or that set of registers.
Taking a peek. Ah, our friends at Google think bit 31 is Windows 3.1. No, it's not that. So
Friends like these.
AA, does that in anywhere feature interface discovery bit 31? 31. Hypervisor discovery before using any hypervisor. Question for you, is this it? Let me drop it in the doc here. Let's make it a 40-page document today. Possibly. So for what it's worth, AA, is that what you are from this document? Is that what you're referring to, and are you having issues with it? Okay, anyhow, jump in if you like. Otherwise, that is fascinating, and that gets into the CPU loops and goodies. That's kind of cool. Actually, let me just bring it up for everyone if you are curious. And use the menu. Oh, there's the menu button. Okay. Feature and interface discovery. Do hypervisor discovery. So AA, is that what you're referring to? We're here to help, but we need to understand the check. Oh, you've posted stack. Oh, oh, oh. What you got? How does the Windows Task Manager detect a virtual machine? Okay. Oh. Task Manager uses a CPU ID as a function to check the status. I see some meat there. Drop that in.
Hey man, there's some people that think they're 7 clip here,
Okay, anyway, is there an issue per se to solve here? And Alexander, I will mute you for that. Perfect. VMware has some thoughts on the topic. Nope, they used to. Lol. So I'm not clear if you are having an issue relating to this, or you're trying to implement that, or what. Anyhow, feel free to elaborate at the top of the doc on what you're trying to achieve. I think we've spent a good, oh, here we go. Ahmed. Okay, question is this. Hey. Oh, can it be masked so that perhaps the VM doesn't think it's a VM? Is that what I'm hearing? Yes.
Yeah, that
Got it.
sounds like what he's asking.
Yeah, okay, well, that sounds very much like what Hans is working on as we speak for full CPU masking. I'm advocating for just a toolkit where you can make it look like something completely implausible if that fits your use case or test case. So, uh, can this be
Yeah, this sounds
masked?
very much up.
Hans is working on this. So yeah, there's your answer. Hans dropped off like 20 minutes ago, but is very much the person working. And if you can, manually just, like it says, change the code, go for it. I won't stop you. Okay, we are an hour and 45 minutes in. Any other thoughts, questions, jokes, humor, goodness, fun? And I will choose those with the. Actually, Alexander, you still around? You are unmuted. Would you like the honors?
I've got a quote real quick.
Oh,
You've
got a what?
Quote, a
Quote,
funny
yes,
quote.
please. Yeah, that would be great to have. Let's bring it on.
So this is a quote from Cherry legend Brooks Davis.
Yeah, okay.
Right? He said once, the vast gulf of unsuitability between GPG and Git implies the existence of a land of even worse UX waiting to be discovered.
GPG. Yes. Is that something you can drop in chat? Because I'll try to find it in another window. But yeah, I sense the pain in that.
Gulf of unsuitability between GPG and Git implies the existence of a land of even worse user experience waiting to be discovered.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much, everybody. Make sure to smash up that like button, subscribe for more bhyve calls.
And jails and zones.
And jails and zones.
And
thank you.
Yes, existence. I'll fix this. Okay, and where did he say this in any way publicly?
No, he didn't. But I think that this is a funny quote that's like acceptable
lovely.
to share and not to like throwing him under the bus or something.
Oh, it's insightful because GPG has been one of those things that, oh my gosh, everyone should be using it, and few are using it because, well, the usability was.
The user experience of GPG is unbelievably horrible. Like all my shell configs, everything is so elegant until we go to the like literally lines and lines and lines of hacks necessary to make GPG just work like it's supposed to. And GPG developers kindly refuse to put stuff in man pages. They're still beating the horse of info pages in the 2026.
Take a drink, yeah.
Take a drink, yeah. Like, GPG has turned more people to the bottle than any non-government related thing in the last 2 decades.
Amen, sister. Okay. I lose it, I snap. Awesome. On that note, take care, everyone. Let's call it good there. I can stick around a few minutes. Excellent call. Great news. Fix those bugs. Talk to you soon.